Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's now 5:30, Monday, July 24th, 2017, and I call the City Council of Paris, Texas to order. Let's start off the meeting with an invocation by Gene Anderson and a Pledge of Allegiance by Ms. Holmes. Oh, it's Drake.
May we pray? Heavenly Father, we're indeed thankful for living in America, Father, with all the privileges and rights and benefits that we have of living in this great nation. We pray for our leaders that you would guide and direct them, whether they be national, state, or local. And Father, we pray specifically for our city council tonight as they have many decisions to make, that you would guide them and lead them and direct them. Father, we thank you for all that you do for us, and we ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And the next item is the Citizens Forum. Persons desiring to address the council must limit their presentation to no more than 2 minutes unless an item is posted on the agenda. The Texas Open Meetings Act prohibits the council from responding to any comments other than to refer the matter to a future agenda, to an existing policy, to a staff person with specific factual information. Claims against the city, council members, or employees, as well as individual personnel appeals, are not appropriate for Citizens Forum. I now declare the Citizens Forum open. Please step up if you and identify yourself and sign in, please.
My name is Marilyn Rose. I live at 2710 West Brame, and I am here to speak in favor of the city reinstating the cost of living adjustment for the City of Paris retirees. I am a City of Paris retiree. I worked for 40 years. A few years back, 10 years ago actually, the city manager who was here at that time suspended temporarily the cost of living adjustment. Well, that suspension temporary suspension has been fairly lengthy, 10 years. What we are requesting tonight is that this item be placed on the agenda. We want the council to have the opportunity to discuss it. There are several options that can be taken in restoring this, and it just is very important to all of us retirees that the council gets all the information and that you get the opportunity to vote on it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
My name is Dick Boots. I'm retired from City of Paris as Director of Community Facilities. In addition to what Marilyn said, our retirees work most of our adult lives to ensure that the City of Paris function to its fullest and to do our best in making sure that that happened. I took a great deal of pride in saying I work for the City of Paris, and take a great deal of pride now in saying that I retired from the City of Paris. And we all represented the city in the best way we knew how at that time. And whether a municipality or private business, your strong point is your employees, and it always will be. And all those who have retired from the City of Paris, I feel, should be treated as fairly in retirement as they were when they were city employees. And I respectfully request that the city manager and this city council appropriate the funds needed to ensure that the City of Paris retirees get that cost of living increase that they've been lacking to get in the last 10 years. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Robert Milton. I recently retired. I haven't been retired long enough to even draw my first retirement check, but I stand before you asking that the COLA be reinstated. Not so much just for myself, but I look around a lot of the older people that I've worked with. I know Miss Rose when school her kids, retired Lieutenant Dockery, Chief Whitley, all these people, all of us put a lot of years into this city, a lot of our time, and especially those in emergency services, where time was spent away from wife and children, having to work. Whereas it may not be a lot, that cost of living adjustment, sometimes a little, for some people is a lot. So I ask you that you please reconsider that, put it on the agenda for discussion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Alice Penalto. I live at 810 33rd Street Northeast, and I'm in District 7. I am here to basically speak for myself and the other retirees of the city. I've worked for the city for 24 years in the legal department, and I retired in January of 2011 at the age of 73 years. And I am having difficulties making ends meet because of the cost of living and everything that we're all facing. My money's decreasing and my expenses are increasing, which we're all experiencing. But my main disappointment is that this item has not appeared on the agenda for your consideration, so you can know all the details of what we would like to have happen and what we hope you will consider. And I respectfully hope that you will all take this into consideration and put it on the agenda so that you can all have an opportunity to vote on it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Charles Whitley. I live at 725 Southeast 38th Street. I'm a retiree from the city of Paris. I've worked for the police department for some almost 30 years. And as I've already heard, that things are tough for those of us who are on a fixed income, and especially there's several that retired from the city whose spouses have passed on, and it's double hard for those people. And what we would like to do is get this COLA reinstated on a permanent basis. And we've been here several times voicing our concerns, and as of now, we have seen no response at all. Personally, what I would like to see, and I'm trying to be as respectful as I could be, I would like to see from this council an up or down vote, one way or the other. Based on how you vote, we will become more, we'll become better educated voters. So from a personal standpoint, how I vote next time is going to depend on how you vote. And I'll thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mayor, members of council, my name is Larry Shank. I live at 3765 Dawn Drive in Paris, Texas. It was my pleasure to serve as your city attorney for about 6 years. I am also a city retiree, but the adjustment that I'm asking you to consider will not have a personal effect that much on me. Like the other gentleman that spoke, I'm more concerned about the people that were my contemporaries and colleagues and friends for all those years. The young lady that spoke to you before, Ms. Jackson, was my secretary for many years, Alice Jackson. I am asking that you consider this. This is not the first time I've spoken to you. We spoke to you last year. I spoke to this council in January on the same subject, and I spoke to you again in June. I'm back here again asking for your consideration. It is with some degree of disappointment that I noted the city manager's memorandum on the budget recommends there be no COLA adjustment for this year. Again, it has been 10 years since the retirees of this city, some 200 people, most of whom still live here, received a COLA adjustment. I voted for your bond proposition. I consider it the city's bond proposition. Even though in a sense it means a tax increase, no matter what you say, it's a tax increase if you approve it, because the taxes could have not been assessed unless you did it. I did it because I thought it was the right thing to do. Granting a COLA increase for these folks is also the right thing to do. I appreciate your consideration for this issue. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can all the retirees stand?
Thank you. Mr. Higdon?
Mayor, Council, Ken Higdon, President of the Lamar County Chamber of Commerce, 8 West Plaza. I want to just take a moment and let you, and thank you, the city manager, the police, the fire, public works, parks and rec, for all the help. You know, we've had a busy month. We did the fireworks. We got through Tour de Paris. This weekend is the Southern Drag Boat Association's drag boat races out at Lake Crook. None of those could happen without y'all's support. So I just want to take time personally to thank all the folks at the city that make this possible. They have great economic impact, bring in a lot of visitors. The Tour de Paris this last week, in conjunction with the Balloon and Music Festival, I have to get that name right because we changed it slightly. We filled up almost every hotel in town, so it was a great event, great combination. But again, we couldn't do it without all the support of the city staff. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to address the council?
Yes, my name is Ronald Frazier. I reside at 1370 Northeast 7th Street, Paris, Texas. And I just want to show my gratitude and thank the city council manager and all the city council members and for cutting the grass that was down beside the house. A lot of times people don't come back and say thank you, but I'm coming back and saying thank you for such a good job y'all done.
Thank you, sir. Once again, anyone else wish to address the council? Seeing none, I'll close the public citizens forum. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Does anyone want to remove anything from the consent agenda? I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion, we accept the consent agenda.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And it passes. Okay, the regular agenda, the first item, item number 11, conduct the second public hearing on a petition for disannexation filed by Jason and Whitney Bowler for a 6.941 acre tract of land out of the John W. Williams Survey, abstract number 1001 in Paris, Lamar County, Texas, known as 6055 Clarksville Street, Paris, Texas. So we have to have a second public hearing on this, and I'll open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of or in opposition to this, please approach the podium. If no one wishes to speak, I'll close the public hearing. And I guess we're done with that item. Item number 12, receive citizen input on ballot for the November 7th, 2017 election to abolish the economic development sales tax and to adopt a street maintenance sales tax. So I assume we'll have another citizens forum on this. I'll open the discussion, and I'd like to consider limiting folks to 2 minutes, especially if we have a lot of people. If we don't, we can let you talk a little longer. So, but depending on how many, go ahead, Mr. Paris.
Thank you. I hope you allow just a little bit.
Yeah,
longer
I'll
than
let
2
you go a
minutes.
little more than 2 minutes.
I can speak slow, but you don't want me speaking fast.
I won't even time you. Go ahead.
But anyway, my name is Michael Paris. I am the Executive Director for Economic Development in Paris, Texas. And I come here tonight to ask you to pause the process of going to a vote in November. The purpose that I believe that we should pause is to go back and look exactly what we're asking the voters to do. On June the 26th, when you come up with the original vote to do this, there was some discussion as to what economic development should look like. Should we keep 4A? Is there a problem with 4A? Should we look at 4B? Should we look at some other aspects of the way economic development is done? It was alluded to, maybe economic development reports to the city manager. These are all concepts that are viable, other cities are using, but I think at the same time, I think much more discussion needs to go into the aspect of finding out exactly who we are as a community and where do we see ourselves in the next 20 or 30 years as a community, and how does economic development play a role in that? 4A was designed to recruit primary jobs. And if you can allow me just a moment to define primary job. A primary job is where a widget is made in the city of Paris, or let's say Lamar County. That widget is then exported out of the city limits or Lamar County. A transaction is made, and that revenue comes back in to the community. And that is net growth. 4A is focused on that. In 1993, the bucket was set aside for that primary job creation activity and also retention activity. Obviously, there are concerns, comments, agreements, disagreements on what that 4A has done since 1993, but I'm here to say that the 4A has done quite a bit. At the same time, has the 4A made a few mistakes? Probably hindsight being 20/20, maybe so, but that's water under the bridge. My point tonight is to ask you, where do we go? And I really believe that each of you, and I really believe that the citizens of the community really want Paris to be someplace that's unique, someplace that people want to come to, especially with all the growth that's happening in the north area of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, McKinney, and the Frisco area. Another thing I'd like to add, speaking of 4A and 4B, that really wasn't discussed, but we do need to define, and that is, can a 4A funds be used to a 4B project? Let's say, from all the planning and evaluation and strategic plan, we decide that we want to look at a youth sports complex, which is usually brought up in our sales tax training. A few communities have used 4A monies towards a youth sports type complex. Let's say there's other activities in this community in which we want to do something that's 4B related. Can 4A contribute to that? They can, but it has to go to a special election. So there are ways to use 4A money for 4B type projects. Do we need to consider a 4A and a 4B? I think that was brought up last time. Maybe so. But how can we take something to the voters, eliminating the funds to 4A, and at the same time giving it to streets and utilities? How can we ask them to do that if we don't have a plan ourselves? I have to be honest. I looked on our website, and I looked at our recent information at the 4A. We don't have a mission statement on my website. I looked on the city's website. I looked for your mission statement. I couldn't find it. And I'll be honest with you, maybe I'm not internet savvy, but I couldn't even find the strategic plan for the city of Paris. As a community, I'm not pointing fingers, I'm talking about holistically. So my point is this: how can we ask the voters to do something if we don't even know what we want to do ourselves? And so my question to you is, allow us that opportunity. In a previous employment where I was located, we used this consultant. I know that's a bad word, but he's a consultant. And he had these clickers, and he has 45 of these clickers. For our 4A strategic planning meeting, he asked the question, what does success mean for your community? What does it mean for economic development? And I think it would be neat to begin that process of strategic planning by bringing this person in. It's only $1,500, which to me is pennies compared to what we're looking at cost-related wise for an election, and bring this consultant in for $1,500, and then each representation from the council, representation from the EDC, representation from PJC, maybe our superintendents, maybe the county. Bring these folks in, and we pick 45 individuals amongst ourselves, business leaders, that can come in, sit down with these clickers. We pick the top 3 or 5 that we'd like to see in the community through, you know how this activity works. And then through those clickers, we can find out what do we see as success for this community? Does our population need to grow X? Does our sales revenue need to grow Y? Does our activity, weekend activity, need to happen Z? Those types of things that we need to ask ourselves and look at for ourselves. But let me finish this, and I'm going to keep this short for you. The other piece that I want you to consider is culturally what happens to us. If you go to an election, I'm concerned, Michael Parris, I can't speak on behalf of the PEDC, but I'm concerned about the morale of the community. You've had a lot of fighting, you've had a lot of finger pointing in the past, and I want to suggest that the community is ready to move forward. The community is ready to look in the future. And if that's the case, and I'm pretty sure that it is, why go to a fight all the way through November as a community when we can actually take a step back, take a breath, collect our senses, look what we want to see in the future, and how do we realign the resources to look forward in the future? Thank you for your time.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Mr.
it.
Parris.
Hello, my name is Linda Vander. I live at 540 Northeast 21st Street. And I would like to appeal to the council to reconsider the decision to put to a public vote the decision to dismantle the PEDC. What I'd like to see happen instead is to keep the PEDC, but change it to a Type B, which would allow the recruitment of retail businesses also. It's also my understanding that Type B EDCs can provide the same services as a Type A, but can also use some of the funds for other things, including street improvements, which I believe was part of the proposal that was put forth with this upcoming election, proposed election. During the time that I've lived in Paris, I've lived here for 27 years. Most of these things that I'm about to talk about have happened, I think, within the last 10 years. We've lost Kmart, we've lost Big Lots, we've lost Goodies, we've lost Foxworth Galbraith, we've lost True Value Hardware, we've lost Hastings, we've lost Hallmark, we've lost Famous Shoe Store, we're losing Sears now. And although I don't rely on rumors, I hear rumors all the time that we're going to probably lose JCPenney also. We've lost grocery stores. We've lost Winn-Dixie. We've lost Super One. We've even lost some chain restaurants. We've lost Pizza Inn, Church's Chicken, Long John Silver's, and Kentucky Fried Chicken. Paris can't afford to continue to lose retail business. Without a sound retail base, industries will not be eager to relocate to Paris. Without retail, we have no industry. Without industry, we have no jobs. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, City Council, my name is Chris Bailey. I'm the Vice President, Plant Manager at Turner Industries here in Paris. Just got a simple statement to make. We are a beneficiary of the PEDC. It is the result of the PEDC is the reason why we are here in Paris. In fact, it's really the only reason that we were here, that they came looking and to exploit an empty building. And so just want to be on record saying that we support the PEDC. We support Michael Parris, and I'm new, have been becoming more and more aware of Michael's function here and the PEDC. And so we just want to say that we're in support of it, and do appreciate the opportunity to speak to you today. Thanks.
Thank you.
Mayor and ladies and gentlemen of the council, my name is Jim Bell. Actually, it's Nathan Bell. And the government's telling me I've got to use that name now. Live at 720 39th Street, Morningside. And I come here looking at this and thinking that we're about to shoot ourselves in the foot. When I was in the military and we started training, you went to the range. First thing a staff sergeant told you was keep those weapons pointed downrange. We are together in this, shoulder to shoulder. We have one common cause, and that is to grow our community and make it a safer, nicer community. Now the question is, Can we grow this community by building streets that people may not be able to or want to use or need to use if we can't get the jobs? First thing is, we need jobs. As has been mentioned, those jobs can be in retail if we restructure. I think this particular motion itself, going to the city, I would speak against it because it defines the fact you're getting away from something that has, in fact, in the past worked. If it didn't, what happened when Turner Pipe replaced Babcock's and Wilcox? We've had growth in jobs, and we're going to need those jobs because not everyone, the people that are hurt on this, in this case, would be the people at the lower echelon, the ones that graduated from high school and are not wanting to leave Paris, and they don't have the jobs to get into because they don't have a college education. I think it's very important that we restructure this and how we are addressing where that money is going to go. And there may be some changes. I think there are some changes that need to be made. But this isn't the one to go from job creation to streets. And yep, we need some streets, but this is not the way to do it. Let's keep our eyes on the right target. We're all together in the target. Let's define it, keep all of our weapons pointed down range, don't shoot ourselves in the foot, and most of all, don't shoot one of your fellow soldiers. We may be wounding somebody or hurting somebody else if we do the wrong thing right now. You need to think this through really well, detail for detail. Thank you.
Thank you.
How you doing, Mayor and City Council? My name is Derek Hughes. I live at 627 5th Northeast. I'm a board member of the PEDC, and I want the board to consider postponing their vote and studying and learning about maybe changing it to an A and B instead of just a type A. When I went to a couple of conferences about EEDC, we found out that most small cities are changing to a type A and B. So I started studying about it, and I asked Michael about it. And then when Ms. Lancaster first brought this up last year, that was one of the things for infrastructure that I said, if we were AB, we could do some of those things. So I hope the City Council studies that, learn more about it, and then educate the people of that choice of what he could do for the city. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm A.W. Clem, 2980 Hubbard Street. I think most of you know me as Plug. I don't really know what I wanted to say, but I realized this afternoon in the office I had to come over here and say something, because we're trying to draw young attorneys back to Paris. People will provide you all with quality legal services. So we need bright people. We need people who enjoy a certain quality of life. They're not going to enjoy Dallas if they come back up here. That means they're going to want a certain lifestyle. And the lifestyle they want, I think, is to have a community of nice people with nice things to do, and that is congenial. And this is sort of, I don't understand what's happened in Paris. I've lived here 76 years, and it just seems like that the community gets harder and harder and harder. This may be because of politics. I don't know. I've given up on worrying about that. But I think that we have to have jobs, to have people, so that you think about it. If you have 3 boys and you're bringing them up here in Paris, Texas, now what's going to happen? Most of them are going to leave Paris because there's not something that they can stay here and enjoy a quality life. They don't want to be rich, or they wouldn't be in Paris probably most of the time, but they at least want a decent life for their children. They at least want them to be able to go off to school and get a good education and have something to come back. And the only way we can do that is if we have an industrial program that is solid, and it's getting harder. I mean, I could go on and talk for of 5 minutes more on just what's happening in our society that makes it harder to get good jobs. And we have an enormous problem here with poverty. I'm sure you all are aware of that. We need to deal with that. The only way we can do that is if we have people that are substantial, that can afford to deal with poverty, because our poverty problem here is enormously serious. And the only way we can deal with that, y'all, is if we're friends. The only way that you can touch somebody is if you can go up and say, Sue, I've known you all my life, and here's what the situation is. What do you think about it? And have a decent conversation and come up with some solutions. So I'm hoping that we won't drop this aspect of it. I think we need this voice. I mean, it's just one voice. I'm not saying it's the end of the world, but it is certainly a vital voice in this community. And I hope you all will give serious consideration every time you think about it, about how we're going to get young people back here to enjoy the quality of life that you and I have really, all of us, shared and enjoyed. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mosley. I live at 3915 Shannon Drive, Paris, Texas. And PEDC it's been in effect for about 24 years now. And even the President of the United States has to be reviewed. We have election every 4 years. PEDC has not been touched for 24 years. And now that the attention has been brought to the PEDC, it's like they're begging not to have a vote. And I think it's very important for the people of Paris to vote on whether they're satisfied with their money's being spent. And I think you as a council will decide how to reorganize, because we do need something for growth and we need something to bring the people to Paris. But this hasn't worked. We've not been bringing the jobs in. So I'm in total favor of having the people of Paris. I think they're intelligent. They voted y'all in, so they make good decisions. So I think we can trust the people of Paris to vote the way they want to. It's their money. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kelly Malico. I'm the vice president and co-owner, along with my husband, of Bodyguard Truck Accessories on FM 79. I just wanted to introduce myself and let you guys know who I am. Many of you do not know who we are, but we have sat at the very back of this council room for the past 6 years and been very active in hearing the city council meetings, attending the PEDC meetings, and being involved with our community. Mr. Paris asked you to define what success looks like, and he challenged you to get a roadmap and get a strategic plan. I'm here today to tell you that we are your success story. We have brought a viable business to Paris. We have created primary jobs, specifically in welding, CNC operations of heavy equipment, and skilled trade, basically, to Paris. We have brought a manufacturing business to Paris. Although our product is made at our Paris location, it actually ships out nationally and internationally. In less than 24 hours, I fly to Los Angeles to represent not only my business, but the city of Paris and all of these people behind me. We are actively trying to pursue international markets to expand and grow our business, and I'm very proud that PEDC gave me the chance to do that. Not only have we fulfilled our obligations to PEDC, but we actually have exceeded our obligations. We have created more primary jobs than what were initially established in our contract. We have exceeded those, and come September the 12th of this year, our 5-year contract is actually ending, and I'm very proud to say what we have achieved, and that is because of PEDC that made that happen. They played an integral role in helping us achieve our goals and get our business off the ground. They helped us with creating jobs for you and for the citizens of Paris. They helped us with job training money to get those people trained. They helped us with infrastructure improvements and relocation to Paris, but they also assisted us with non-monetary items that didn't cost the city or the PEDC or the city council a thing. such as assisting us with loan processes and proceedings, offering a loan guarantee to help us get a line of credit established. And they also helped us secure a 40,000 square foot manufacturing facility that was once unoccupied in Paris. I challenge you, each of you on the City Council, to please stay positive. I'm 34 years old. I was born here. I was raised here. I went off to Austin College for 4 years and I came back here. I have a business here. I don't have kids here, but I do have a business here, and that's like a baby. Let's stop with they did this wrong. Let's stop pointing fingers. Let's come together. Let's stay positive. And let's ask what we can do right. Let's ask what PEDC did right, and let's focus on the success stories. We are one of the success stories. I'm asking you today that you not take this to vote in November. I'm asking that you pause, potentially bring the community together, create task force within certain areas. Let's get a strategic plan together. Let's define some goals. And let's actually give a little bit of time to foster some deals that potentially may be in the making that none of the people behind me even know about. More importantly, let's give the executive director that we hired, that we paid to relocate here and bring here to run this, let's support him. You appointed board members to the PEDC Council. Let's support those people. Let's let them do the job that we asked them to do. Let's support the executive director. Let's come together as a community. Let's educate one another. I know specifically I'm in the younger generation, and there are a lot of people in my generation that this will go to vote to who absolutely have no idea what type A and type B or any of that even means. And they ask me daily about how our involvement with the city and the PEDC works. Let's educate those people before we send this to a vote. I do agree that it should be the citizens' input, but let's at least educate those people if we're going to send it to a vote and put a ballot in their hands. Let's stay positive. Let's support the board, the executive director, and overall, let's please be business friendly. PEDC is responsible for our business coming to Paris, and we truly do appreciate that.
Thank you.
Pete Dalrymple, 620 Southeast 39th Street, Morningside. You know, we just had a national election where the opposition said that many of us were a bucket of deplorables. We weren't smart enough to know the issues. I'm sitting here listening to the same thing. It's the same crap. We're not smart enough to have a vote. We need to be educated. Most of us have college degrees. It just gets a little bit old. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Bill Strathern. Mr. Mayor, City Council, I'd like to just follow along with what he said. The PEDC was voted on 23 years ago, by the citizens. They selected the PEDC. The PEDC has been run for 20-some years, 23, 24 years. The PEDC has spent $24 million. And what we have to show for it is a bumper plant, which is a good one, no problem. But we spent $24 million with nothing to gain but stories. We hear these stories all the time. I heard that clicker story 20 years ago. Here's the deal. We can have the vote in November as the council so decided. And between now and November, the council and the people for the PEDC can train and run an election and let the citizens decide what we should do. Fair enough. Let the citizens decide what we should do. Don't postpone it because we'll be postponing it for the next 25 years. So please, just let the citizens decide, and I'm sure we'll make the right decision. Thank you.
Thank you.
Arjumand Hashmi, 4510 FM 195. First of all, I want a clarification. I'm not even sure why we are discussing the vote, because I think the council has already decided and taken a vote on the election. Is that correct or incorrect?
That's correct.
So I'm not going to touch the base of election or no election, because that decision has already been made. Unless one of the council members takes it off the, puts it back on the agenda and votes against it, that part is already done, as far as I'm concerned. With that said, Honorable Mayor and council members, first of all, I want to thank you for your services to the city. And having been in that position, I fully realize sometimes how difficult the job is when you're making critical decisions which have long-term bearing on the health of the city. I've come today since I felt compelled to speak about such an issue, and that is about future economic development. I have been, during my time, a proponent of cutting expenses and making the best use of taxpayer money. I'm also a very strong proponent of improvement of our city streets and roads, and with all of you's help, was able to get the bond done. While all of that is true, I also feel strongly that directing all the funds of economic development to streets and road is not a very good idea, since in time, if any of the local industries want funding or support for their growth or job creation, it will leave us no money to support it. Mind you also that the fund you're creating can only be used for improvement of current streets, and no new streets can be built with it. In the last few years, the plant manager of Campbell Soup had come to me once to help for funding and training for 75 employees, and we were able to do it and open a new line at Campbell Soup since we had the funds available to us. Members of the council and Mr. Mayor, my request would be at least to have half of the funds directed for economic development, while the rest of the half you can allocate to roads improvement. Now, how you do it, and it's your problem. What the wording on the ballot should be is a decision that all of you have to sit down and decide. But I do not feel that directing every penny towards roads is a good idea. Job creation, and more important for our community, is job retention. And that is extremely important, and I feel that if it takes a little extra time to do it right, you should consider doing it. But we trust you completely, and you'll make a good decision. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anna Spitzer, 1710, 34th Northeast. I am in agreement with closing the PEDC and using that money for something else. I base that on over 25 years at an average of $1 million per year in tax money has been provided, and we have so little to show for that. We have the lady that just spoke that has the business out in West Paris, and I cannot think of any other business over 25 years that we have that has been funded with this money. What has gone with the money, I don't know. Mr. Paris made this statement: we have been fighting, finger pointing, and I believe he said he gave a number of years. I've not seen that. I've not seen any fighting nor finger pointing, but I look at this as a business decision. If you have a business and for 25 years you do not make a profit, and you have to struggle and you have to borrow money to exist, then I don't think that's a profitable business, and you need to make a decision to move on to something else. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chad Lindsay, District 6. Last time I was up here, I asked the council to consider delaying this vote. One of the reasons being that there were new board members and, kind of wanted to see what they could do. I have in the past been pretty critical of the PEDC. I think there's a lot of people in this room who were a little, we'll say, annoyed with some of the behavior of the past. But I think from where I stand, a lot of that has changed. There's a lot of potential there that I would like to see. But last time when this vote happened, I think that was 2 council meetings ago, a conversation was started. I think it started on this side of the room. I was very happy to see my council person, Cleon Drake, asked a lot of interesting questions. 4A, 4B, some people threw out some other ideas. Unfortunately, that conversation was ended kind of abruptly. That's how votes go, but I think we can see tonight, a lot of people have come up here and they've said 4A, 4B. Dr. Hashmi mentioned maybe some of the money shouldn't go to streets, should go to some other places. Mr. Paris brought up some ideas. There's a lot of ideas. There's a lot of citizen input. This conversation is continuing out here. And if there's any way, I think Dr. Hashmi said something about a council person who voted for it or against it, I don't remember, could bring this back. It seems to me this conversation should continue. Maybe we have the vote, maybe we delay the vote, but there's a lot of information out there. And no, I don't have a college degree, but I have no idea what 4B means, and I would really like to hear more of that conversation. And that's just this citizen's input. Thank you.
Thank you.
Michael Glatfelder, 6th Street, Paris, Texas. We have 3 months from now to vote for this. I think that's a delay. That's good enough. Recently, many of you know, I tried to file a federal lawsuit against the city for $1.9 million that was missing from the PEDC and was discovered in a forensic report. The judge said I could not pursue this because I was not an attorney. The correct prosecutors were federal and state prosecutors and inspector generals from the USDA. And they said that people in the government here locally would have to go to them. Basically, I'm talking about loose ends here. We're missing a lot of money. These people are crying about their COLA raise. $1.9 million sure could give them a raise, I think. And when that forensic report came out, there was a responsibility to get that money back. And no one stepped up to the plate except me. No one in town has stepped up to the plate and actually done something to get that money back. And you know what? There are people who have a fiduciary responsibility to get that money back, and they're in front of me right now. And essentially, the judge also told me this is a criminal matter. You're missing money and you want to move on, you want to forget about the past, and it's time to shut this down. It's done. You have no right telling the people that they need to delay their vote. And another thing, you need to drive up and down some streets and see where there aren't sidewalks and there is an infrastructure. Now, I expect you folks, you all now know that you're missing money out of the PEDC, and I expect every one of you to go find that money because that's your responsibility. You let me vote to shut this down like everyone else, and then you get that money back, and you spend it on something worthwhile.
Thank you. All right. Anyone else wish to speak?
Hello, I'm Sheila Corsi, controller at Campbell Soup Company at the Paris facility. I would just like to say that Campbell Soup values and appreciates our relationship that we have with the PEDC as well as the City Council. It is our pleasure to have this great relationship with both of you. The support we have received in the past is greatly valued by Campbell Soup and has been mutually beneficial to not only Campbell's but as well for our community. Looking forward to the future, as the competition for business continues to increase, it is imperative that we have a strategic plan for economic growth for the benefit of both of our businesses and our community. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Ms. England's going to talk.
Pam England, president of Paris Junior College. We are probably one of the largest trainers for primary jobs in the area. And I just wanted to say, with our relationship with the PEDC over the years, some of the things that they have helped us with to train those individuals for primary jobs. Turner Pipe, a number of years ago, needed additional welders. We needed additional equipment, additional gas lines piped into our welding shop. PEDC stepped up. It was done quickly. We got the welders trained and they went to work. Another example happened very recently when there was funding from the Workforce Commission, but it required a local economic development corporation to partner with the local workforce board for matching funds. And we received help from the PEDC, help from Northeast Texas Workforce Solutions to get the money from the Workforce Commission to add CNC machines at the college so that we can start a machining program again to meet the needs of local industry. As we look to the future, it is very important that we increase our economic viability in this area. Our future and our children's future depends on it. One other thing that the PEDC has helped us with, in partnership with all 5 county high schools, we've done work keys training for students in the CTE program to where they get a work keys certificate and can take that certificate and show it to local employers. So I would ask you to consider that economic viability as we move forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council. My name is Matt Frierson. I'm at 523 South Church Street. Thank you very much for putting this on the agenda to have public input. I think this is a really good step. The one thing that I've noticed is that in my time on the council, or just observing here tonight, that when the issues are important, people show up. People want their voice heard, and this is a good opportunity to do so. In echoing what Dr. Hashmi said earlier, I think that what you're seeing tonight is people have different ideas. People have different opinions, and that's okay. That's great. I do think that the citizens should have the ability to change their mind after 24 or 25 years. You know, I think that's an important thing. But as it stands tonight, the issue is the wording on the resolution to pass that, to put that wording on the ballot. And I think that, for me, is the mistake. That the way it stands, what you're going to vote on tonight is basically to have economic development or not. And if you pass the resolution as it stands tonight, you're essentially saying, like, economic development, period, isn't important to us. At least it has that potential. Voters can be educated. That's totally cool. Type A, type B, type A and B. Lots of different choices. But ultimately, you need to decide if economic development in Paris and Lamar County is important. Because the second you take that away and start putting it into street and roads, there's no guarantee that when a plan or an opportunity comes, that there will be money there. So I would ask you, the way it stands tonight, don't pass the resolution. Amend it, change it, think about it, whatever you need to do, but realize jobs and the future is on the line. Thank you.
I'm Ken Coles. I live at 3935 Brandon Place, Paris, Texas. We live in a democracy. You are our elected officials. I've been hearing about, let's say, let the citizens vote. The city had a $40 million bond issue. Do you know what percentage of people voted in that election? Anybody? 7% of the electorate voted. City had another bond issue for streets. Do you know what the election was on that one. Less than 2% of the qualified voters voted. Here you're talking about having an election this May by itself. What percent of the people do you think will vote? If they didn't come out for a $40 million bond issue or a $12 million bond issue, what percentage do you think will vote? Especially if they're uninformed. My recommendation is, if you're going to pass this, delay the vote when you have another major election, i.e. in November of next year, when we have another major vote. Otherwise, the percentage of population of this city that will vote will be so small that it would be shameful. Thank you.
Okay, I think we've had quite a bit of discussion on this. I think I'm ready to close off the public discussion on this item. And that is what item 12 was. Item 13 is the actual, I'll just read it. Discuss and act on an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Paris, Texas, calling a special election relating to the abolition of the sales and use tax for economic development and the adoption of a sales and use tax for the repair and maintenance of streets in the City of Paris, Texas, establishing the date of the election, providing for early voting, designating polling places, appointing election officials, providing for notice of the election, authorizing an agreement with the Lamar County Elections Administrator for election services, appointing an early voting ballot board, finding and determining that the meeting at which this ordinance was passed complied with the Texas Open Meetings Act, making other findings and provisions related to the subject, and providing an effective date. So we have passed this. And we were simply, this could have been a consent agenda item, but I chose to put it on the regular agenda because I thought there would be some discussion on it. There's something I would like to say to start off the discussion on this. The PEDC, a Type A Economic Development Corporation, was created 24 years ago with the hope and promise of fostering economic development in Paris. Many in the community do not believe this organization has been effective. The PEDC collects and spends roughly $1.2 million in sales tax revenue each year. Some have been very disappointed with their results toward economic development. Some have suggested the City of Paris try a different model for economic development. Others have proposed diverting a part or even all of that $1.2 million to streets and roads, which are sorely in need of repair. During the almost a quarter of a century that the PEDC has been in existence, the citizens of Paris have never been asked whether or not they wish to continue funding this organization with their tax dollars. After 24 years, it's quite likely that the majority of the people who voted for this tax are no longer in Paris, and the majority of people paying the tax who live here today have never been allowed to vote on it. In response to these citizens, the Paris City Council 2 meetings ago passed a motion mandating a ballot initiative redirecting the revenue from the PEDC to street and road repair. There were concerns raised by council members at the time, and concerns were raised by the public as well and continue to be raised. Ms. Knox was concerned that we might lose the revenue from the sales tax if there were 2 ballot initiatives. Legal counsel has assured us that we may place this on the ballot as an up or down question. If the voters reject this, no changes at all will occur at the PEDC or the tax. If the voters accept this, the tax money will be automatically diverted to streets and roads. But by far, the most significant concerns, as we've seen tonight, are regarding the future of economic development in Paris. Ms. Portugal expressed her concerns, as have numerous citizens. Let me reassure everyone, neither I nor anyone on this council wants to stop economic development in Paris. I wish to propose the following compromise regarding economic development and improvement of streets and roads. I propose that the council go ahead and approve the ballot language tonight that's being presented so that the people will in fact be allowed to vote to possibly cease funding a Type A EDC and divert the approximately $1.2 million to street and road repair. Now, we currently spend about $600,000 for materials for street, road, and bridge repair. I propose that we change the budget to remove that $600,000 from streets and roads and redirect this money towards establishing a program of economic development as defined by Chapter 380 of the Texas Local Government Code. By doing this, we will be effectively splitting the money collected by the sales tax, reserving $600,000 a year for economic development while doubling the amount of money spent on roads from $600,000 to $1.2 million. I've been studying the Chapter 380 economic development, and this seems ideal for Paris. This program is much more flexible than either a Type A or a Type B economic development corporation. Expenditures are allowed under a Chapter 380 economic development program if they serve a, quote, public purpose, unquote. This definition was expanded in 1987 to include, quote, the making of loans and grants of public money for the public purposes of development and diversification of the economy of the state, the elimination of unemployment or underemployment in the state, or the development or expansion of transportation or commerce in the state. So you can see this has a much broader than either the A or the B does. There must be safeguards, of course, and the law states them, and controls to, quote, to ensure that the public purpose is carried out. All under a Chapter 380 structure, all economic development projects, all of them must be approved by the City Council. This structure seems to have a significant advantage over our current Type A EDC. Potentially, an economic development director could be hired answerable to the city manager and to the City Council. Overhead and administrative costs that are quite high at the PEDC will be lessened considerably by this structure, and there would be more money available for economic development. Annual reports could be required, metrics could be set up to judge for success. This would allow the city to continue offering incentives, which I agree are important in economic development. We could offer incentives of all types and different types than we can now to new and existing businesses when appropriate to encourage economic development. So even though the passage of the ballot initiative would officially divert $1.2 million to streets and roads, the council could, as soon as next meeting, pass a resolution stating its intention to instruct the city manager to use the $600,000 currently budgeted for streets and roads into a fund for economic development under Chapter 380. This will restructure our economic development in Paris while still retaining $600,000 per year to fund economic development, and it will simultaneously double the amount of money available for street and road repair. So on the basis of what I'm proposing here, I think we should pass the ballot language, which is essentially all we're doing, and with the understanding that if the council agrees that this would be a good idea, with the understanding that we would set up a new and restructured economic development corporation that would hopefully answer the issues that the many people tonight have raised. And I'll open this up for any discussion. I'll start off here with Ms. Drake.
Thanks.
I won't call you Ms. Holmes.
Won't call me Ms. Holmes. First of all, I appreciate everybody that has gotten up tonight and spoken one way or the other. I've received many emails, many texts, many phone calls from people on both sides. And it's tough to be sitting in this position. And I want you to know that I have not taken this decision lightly. Spent many a night awake thinking about what is right for the citizens of Paris, because that is why I ran for council in the first place, is I always wanted to do what was right for the citizens of Paris and our community. I listened to everybody. I have a list here, pros and cons on both sides. And as I was listening, and we were saying the Pledge of Allegiance earlier, it said that we are one nation under God. And I believe as one community, the community has the right to say what happens in our community. And again, I want to assure the people of Paris that I believe that we do need an economic development of some sort. And as our city and our nation goes forward, times have changed. And is this what is still best for the citizens of Paris, the way it is set up right now? I believe we need to go ahead and pass this tonight and let the people decide if this is the old way of doing economic development, or do we need to look at it differently. But I do want to assure the citizens that I am all for economic development. And if we look at a 380 or something else, that I believe we do need to have input from people that are a lot smarter than I am. And that, yes, we need jobs. I left Paris many years ago because of my husband's job, but I always knew I wanted to come back home. And I want to have those jobs that can keep people here. And I want us to look at our future. I want us to have the best quality of life for our citizens that are here now and any citizens in the future. And I want us to all work together. No finger pointing, nothing against Mr. Paris, nothing against the current or past PEDC board, but I just want us to look at shaping our city to be the best that we can. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Mr. Jenkins.
Yeah, I appreciate everyone coming out, talking about this issue, about the PEDC. I know I see a lot of things coming around like jobs and stuff. Yeah, we do need jobs here. We really do. I mean, I was born and raised here, and the only thing I can think of is the same thing we've been doing and having for 24 years since the PEDC been here. Retaining jobs, yes. Basically, that's the only thing I can really see what's going on right now. Maybe we need to think outside the box, do something different. I mean, just because you do this and I do this, we still have success. I mean, we're in the middle of all these communities, and we could bring a lot of things here. But right now, I don't see it. I really don't see it. And to me, I support the PEDC. I really do. And I want to see PEDC do good. But right now, I think we need to do something different.
Thank you, Ms. Jenkins. Ms. Lancaster?
Well, in thinking about the whole situation, it comes down to one thing for me. I cannot and will not take the right of citizens to vote on the direction the city is taking. I think that is so important, and we lose sight of it. They need to be the ones we listen to. So I'm in favor of his vote.
Mr. Tornado?
Okay, I'm in favor of the vote also, but Stephanie, can I ask you this question? The way it's worded.
Yes,
you know,
sir.
For streets only. Can we not put it on that, for divided equally between streets and economic development? Or have you found that?
It depends on what kind of economic development you want to do. The only kind of dedicated economic development tax that is allowable under the law is either a type A or a type B. You can, if you want to divide the money up, it would be a different ordinance than this and a different ballot language, but you could do an 8, if you want to divide that in half, an 1/8 of a cent to streets and an 1/8 of a cent that would be a general revenue tax, and then through the budgeting process, dedicate that to economic development. But that wouldn't be, it wouldn't be on the ballot. The council wouldn't be bound to do that. A future council wouldn't be bound to do that.
Okay, the way it's worded like right now, does that mean it has to go to the streets?
Yes.
Okay.
But we could redirect the $600,000 that's currently being spent on streets we could pass a resolution to do that, or after the election, we could instruct the city manager to do that, and the end result would be the same.
Okay, now, if we do this, and the director comes, it'd be under John's authority, right?
I believe it would be under the city manager's authority because only the city judge, the city attorney, and the city manager under the charter report directly to
Okay.
the city council.
Okay, I know you got the, all your information out on finances. Now, for like next year, would that be included in the budget?
Who's that directed to?
Okay, I'm sorry, Mr. Godwin.
Well, if I'm understanding your question, of course, the road tax, if it were approved, it would be continued for 4 years, and at which time, I think it's after 4 years, it has to be voted on again. That's kept in a separate fund, and of course, it has to be used for that purpose. If you redirected the other money that's spent on road materials, basically, to economic development, then that would be your new baseline budget. You could always change that. You could spend it on police officers or pickup trucks or, whatever. So once it's part of the general budget, it's always up for debate whether you do this or that with it. I don't think I would not try to go put that back in the streets again, because you've got $600,000 for materials now. If you change that into $1.2 million, we wouldn't want to make it 1.8 million, I don't think. So I think that for that reason, it would be pretty safe. But again, council adopts a new budget every single year, and of course, as some of these retirees know, it's not always what you want it to be from one year to the next. So.
But the council does determine the budget, so if the council votes to continue funding economic development every year, it would happen.
So it can be done.
It absolutely can be done.
I like that. Okay, that's really about all I got. I want to thank everybody for coming, telling us how you feel about this, and most of all, we need jobs. Thank you.
Ms. Knox?
Yes, sir. This whole thing is just gotten very convoluted, very fast. And while I like the idea that you code 380, because we're in lieu of streets, which we need streets too. But I am definitely not in favor of abandoning economic development. Maybe a restructuring of PEDC. One of my constituents said, if it's broken, fix it, but don't throw it away. I think we need to table this for a little more investigation and a little more discussion.
Ms. Portugal?
Thank you, Mayor. I want to commend you for thinking outside the box and bringing us some options. And I think I agree with Ms. Knox that if we table this and we can get answers to our questions, what is Chapter 380? Just as we've said, some people don't even know what Type B EDC is. We don't know what Chapter 380 is. This was all thrown at us without a workshop, any kind of council retreat where we can talk about what we have as a vision for economic development here. Can we table this and get some training, get some education, get some questions answered? And I can go with what your idea is if I see what the nuts and bolts of it are.
Okay, any other discussion on this? I would still like to make a motion that we go ahead and accept the ballot language with the understanding that the council is planning on instructing the city manager to divert the $600,000 that's currently being spent on streets and roads into a fund that will fund the economic development through Chapter 380. So I'm going to make a motion that we go ahead and accept the ballot language as written.
Now, that would be only in the instance that this is
Only if it
passed.
passes, yeah, if it passes. That's only if the ballot initiative passes, then we will redirect that money. If the ballot initiative fails, everything stays the same.
So either way, the voters will get to
Yes.
vote on whether or not
Yes.
we have economic development funded to the tune of 1.2 million or 600,000.
Exactly. At 1.2 million at the current structure that we're doing, the type A EDC, or if we want to change to this different type of structure and have the funding at 600,000. But of course, we'll have less overhead, so they'll have more money it'd be more than half as much money as they usually have. But anyway, I'll make that motion. If anyone, I don't know if anyone's second it or not. Second, okay.
Second it, Mayor.
Ms. Lancaster?
Okay.
All in favor of the motion, raise your hand. Yeah, okay, and opposed? Okay. All right. Item number 14, discuss and authorize execution of a professional services agreement with Grantham and Associates to provide engineering design and related professional services for the Church Street reconstruction project in an amount not to exceed $200,000. John?
2 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, we talked about the street priorities. Church Street was our number one priority. And it is a project that's going to require complete reconstruction, and it's also one of those we identified as needing to hire an engineer. Grantham and Associates is a company we've used before, both for road construction as well as utilities construction. They have a very good track record. I've also worked for them with them in other cities. We have developed a contract with them and recommend approval of that contract, or at least authorize the city manager to execute that contract this evening in an amount not to exceed $200,000.
Okay. Any discussion on this item?
And we've been pleased with their work. as
Yes,
I
ma'am, very much
understand.
so.
Okay.
Anything else? I'll entertain a motion on this.
I make a motion that we give the city manager authority to do an agreement with this company for our Church Street reconstruction project.
And I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay. Item number 15, discuss and act on an ordinance authorizing the issuance of the city's general obligation bonds, Series 2017, providing for the payment of said bonds, approving the official statement, providing an effective date, and enacting other provisions relating to the subject. John, I'll let you have this one too.
Well,
Gene, I'm
Gene's
sorry.
Gene's gonna
Never mind,
introduce
of course, sorry.
Of course, as the council knows, the citizens voted back in May to issue GO bonds, with most of it dedicated to streets, but also some to parks. We've been working with Samco Capital Markets, which are our financial advisors, and McCall, Parkhurst, and Horton, which are our bond attorneys, to get this process worked out. Earlier today, bids were opened from different people in relative to purchasing of these bonds, and I've got Andrew Friedman with us from Samco Capital Markets, and he's going to talk about it a little bit in more detail.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name's Andrew Friedman with Samco Capital Markets. Earlier, I handed out a short presentation of the results from our pricing earlier today. To take a step back and walk you through this process a bit, once the bonds were approved by the voters and you all decided to proceed with a bond issue, we put together an official statement to go through an update of our rating call and then solicit that official statement that outlines all of the details of the bond and also of Paris as a community and an economy. We put that out for bid competitively, meaning we give an opportunity not only to investment firms here in Texas, but also throughout the country to submit their best bids. And the first page of what was passed out to you is the result of those bids. You see a lot of bidders on that list. We received remarkable turnout and interest from the investment community for the City of Paris's bonds, due mainly to the fact that we have such a high credit rating. PNC Capital Markets is an investment bank out of Philadelphia. And then you see we've got Citigroup out of New York, R.W. Baird, Northland Securities, SunTrust, Robinson Humphrey, Wells Fargo Bank, and FTN Capital Markets also submitting bids. But we're very, very pleased with the winning bid from PNC. They submitted a TIC, which is short for true interest cost, of 2.649. We ran preliminary numbers, I believe at 4%, starting this process, knowing that interest rates were on the rise. We like to be more conservative in our planning, so we're very, very pleased to have come in very far under budget in terms of the interest that we'll be paying back over the next 20 years for these bonds. So again, we're very, very pleased with the pricing result. It has resulted in lower interest payback over that same 20 years that we'll be paying these back. We can go through the numbers in more details if you have questions. We're going to put $9.81 million into our project fund. We're going to issue $9,750,000 worth of bonds. We, of course, have more proceeds, more bond authorization to issue, and that will happen at the very end of this year into the next calendar year. And the reason for that, why we wouldn't issue the full bond authorization now and why we've opted to split this into two issues, is because if we covenant to issue less than $10 million of bonds in a calendar year, we get to issue what is known as bank qualified bonds, which carry a lower interest rate, lower on average between 25 and 40 basis points, depending on the maturity. So that's a very substantial interest rate savings when you're talking about, say, 35 basis points, and we're talking about millions of dollars. So it makes more sense to separate these when we can, issue up to our capacity this calendar year, do another issue in the next calendar year. The savings that we generate by doing that far outweighs the additional costs that you take on by having two bond issues, having to go get two bond ratings. And so we'll follow up with another bond issue in December or another time that will close into the calendar year 2018. But I direct you to page 3 and 4 is your debt service schedule that staff will be taking into consideration as you work through your budget process and setting your upcoming tax rate. And then flipping to the last page, the bond statistics. After we restructured bonds, creating level debt service, end up with a true interest cost 2.63%. It's our recommendation for the city to approve these bids and this sale. I'm happy to go through these numbers in much more detail if you'd like. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have, but that is what I have to present for you this evening.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? Thank you very much. I'll entertain a motion if you'll use the language in here.
Second.
You wouldn't want to read it out loud or make the motion as written on the packet, is it?
Motion as written.
Okay. And it's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I could take one moment of your time to get two signatures, this is something I need for the bidders this evening. The host of legal documents will be there for you to sign at your convenience later.
Okay.
One other thing behind you.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you all.
All right. Item number 16, we have two board members to appoint. The first one is Planning and Zoning, and I'm just going to go ahead and nominate Mustafa Hashmi. Any discussion on that? All in favor, raise your hand. That was unanimous. Wonderful. And I'll let somebody else nominate the Library Advisory Board. We've got two applicants. Who wishes to nominate?
I'll nominate Rebecca Humphrey.
Okay. All in favor, raise your hand. And that's done. Item number 17, receive update on the drainage plan of work. And that,
We'll let Jerry come talk to you just a little bit.
And before he starts, I requested this between him and the city manager, and I do appreciate y'all putting this together and the hard work that y'all did to get this together.
Thank you. I guess we'll just start. I guess y'all have a picture of the map on the overall that shows the different colors of where we've been, what we've done, and what we still have yet to do. And all those fingerlings that you see within the map are ditches and creeks within the city of Paris. So you can pretty much see where we're at and why it takes so much to get this thing to where it's draining and what have you. Do you have any questions on any of that? on the map there itself.
It's blurry to me.
Need borrow my glasses?
Yeah, it's,
We need glasses, one or the other.
You're getting older, you need them.
I know.
and I mean, we can talk about the different colors on the map and
Oh, it is blurry.
where we're at. We've done a lot of clearing and grubbing. We've done some reshaping. And actually, we've actually, I think the last couple of rains we have gotten less and less complaints of flooding in the areas. So it's working.
And Jerry, you've got a handful of projects that you've got kind of short-term planning.
We do. We've got probably 6 or 7 that we actually have game plans for in different areas. And let's see, I can share those with you. I don't actually have do we have that other
They're
slide?
up there.
Are they up
I
there?
think that's probably the ones you've got.
Okay. Collegiate near Clarksville, that's the creek, the channel between Collegiate and
I do have
Clarksville.
some questions about that in a minute.
Okay. We actually have crews out there. If you was out there today, they were cutting the velocity dissipators and trying to get those knocked down some, and then we're gonna reshape that ditch through there, get that, all that vegetation that's growing and clean that up. Do you want me to just go through the list and then, okay. And then the west center, what is that one? Okay, that's gonna be over by Potter's. 19th Street, we've had some flooding in that area, and actually have, I think we have a successful project completed on that one. Found a lot of drainage that was stopped up, cleaned the creeks out. Some landowners were very cooperative, letting us come across and reshape and clean those ditches out through there. And actually, the rain we got the other day, it was flowing, so I think that's gonna be a successful deal there. Pine Bluff, we've got a project, it's a small in length. It's probably 200 linear foot, but it's a double barrel 24-inch storm drain. In conjunction with the new street, we found that the drainage was not properly, so we're carrying on with that. And actually, in doing that, we found a sewer line that we're going to replace while we're doing that runs parallel with that. So it's kind of a double project. York Street is a project that's been we've been trying to figure out what to do because there's just water everywhere. That's a 2-part. If you'll notice it on I guess it's Church Street there by the car wash. That comes between 3rd and Church Street. We do have a clogged up. We're going to clean that ditch and reshape that. And in doing that, then we're also going to take and do a storm drain. We've got some property owners that signed some agreements to let us come in and do some drainage between their properties and back behind where we already have a utility easement. So in order to help relieve the pressures on those folks over there. Brownwood Circle, we have another project there. That's over there off by the Elks Lodge. We've got a lot of water that runs through that. You'll notice that people have run through their backyards and just in efforts to get the water off of them, they've ran drainage pipes, which I agree had to be done to get them off. But it's put a lot of extra water over on Brownwood Circle and down in that area. And it was just, there's no storm drain really planned for that area. Come to find out today, as I'm doing some work out there trying to figure out a few more things now, that there was actually a ditch that was filled in about 18 years ago that probably didn't help matters. So, but that is a project that we've got planned that will help those folks. We've got other projects. We don't have, I didn't list them tonight, but it's a lot of studying, shooting grades, elevation, so I don't have a lot of answers for those, but we'd have other projects coming along. We still have the clearing and grubbing of cutting the trees and that type of stuff. The contractor, actually next week will be we'll have to end him, and that's part of the drainage money that was funded by the council last year, in order to leave a few dollars to get these projects going. And like I say, there's really no end to it, and that's okay, and then maintaining what we've done to keep it as best we can.
Well, Jerry, I think y'all are doing a pretty good job getting caught up. You had a lot to do, and
I appreciate it.
And the neighbors even saying that, the people that I see, hey, it's getting better. So thanks a lot to you. Be sure to tell your
Good team working with me. I promise you
Really
that.
is teamwork.
That's right.
I know I haven't gotten
as many phone calls except one. She got, one of the rains we've had recently got back in her garage, but that's over. And I think we've already talked about that.
Right, and hopefully what we're doing with the
We'll make it
collegiate
go-
and the
get on
dispatchers,
down,
that'll help.
right. But one of the things there, right at Clarksville Street, where y'all are working right now, between Collegiate and Clarksville, that natural, I guess you call it natural drainage. When you get right there at Clarksville Street, that is really, really deep. I mean, are y'all gonna be able to address that when you get down to it also?
Yeah, I think if you look down in there, and I know you have,
A
you'll
lot.
see several islands that have formed in that creek, and that's from silt and wash, and then, of course, then you've got washout on down.
Because I ran kids out of it the other day, and there were snakes in there.
Snakes and mosquitoes, yeah. And what we'll do,
Really?
yeah, we'll actually level that out.
Okay.
There'll probably be some riprap put in for erosion control. But yes, that's part of the plan.
Okay, all right, thank you. And again, thanks for this report.
Ms.
I'm sorry.
Portugal had a question. Yes.
Sorry, I didn't mean to
No,
jump
go
in.
ahead.
No,
You
this
finished.
has been my baby for a long time. Because it-
Some of those are real ditches over there. My question, Jerry, when Brownwood Circle, when that goes east and gets to 38th Street, are there plans to clear those cattails or whatever there is out there permanently? Can they, or if you keep just mowing them down, they grow back just like that?
I mean, we're doing some weed control, which should help just get rid of those. And you know, those appear and come up when ditches get silted in and unmanaged for a while. And of course, we're hoping to be able to stay on top of that, slow
Okay,
that
because
down.
I think that it would not flood the street as badly if that was clear so the water could keep moving.
Right, yeah, I was out there this last rain, and of course, like I say, all that stuff from the Elks Lodge, 30 coming on across Brownwood and then into Brownwood Circles where it all goes, and it was curb to curb and up in the driveway swirling. So hopefully with what we've got planned, that'll help.
Thank you, we
Thank you.
appreciate it.
You bet.
Thank you.
Is that it? Thank you.
All right, number 18, discuss and provide direction to staff on the fiscal year 2017-2018 budget for the city of Paris.
Thank you, Mayor. Fairly quickly, just hit the high points of the items. And of course, you had all the different department heads, except for one. Janice didn't make a presentation because she's got
doesn't
such
get
a
any money,
small budget. And Stephanie's got such a small budget too. We just cut theirs. But a lot of different things. The thing about budgeting, which you know, but just as a reminder, every now and then people will ask for stuff that's just a silly idea. But for the most part, they're all things we'd like to fund. And even rich cities can't fund everything. And we're not a rich city, as you know. So it becomes a choice of do you do this or do you do that? And if you decide to do one, that means in a lot of cases something else does not happen. But just to begin with, talk about the things that are changed. Of course, the first part of that is the nickel tax rate increase. That's because of the bond election that was approved last May. It could be a tiny bit less than that based on the actual interest rates that you approved tonight with the bond sale. It might be 4.9 cents or something like that, but essentially it'll be a nickel, and that's what's included in the current recommended budget. There's also a general raise for employees of 2.5%. We talked about that a lot over the last couple of years. In the 5 years I've been here, there's been a general raise twice, or this would be the second one. There's been only one before this, and it was 1.5%. We also plugged in for the lowest paid employees. 2 or 3 of us have talked about this. We've got some folks that are really low paid. So for about the bottom 35 to 45, it kind of depends on who's in those jobs, what that number actually is, would get probably about 5% instead of 2.5%. An increase to the health insurance cost per employee of $25 a month. It's not a lot, but health insurance will go up in January. We don't have that number yet. We'll get it in probably August or so. Our best guess was about a 16% increase. So this will help cover some of the increase that employees will pay. Last thing you want them to do is get a 2.5% increase in October, then in January their net pay goes down because insurance goes up so much. I've seen that happen in other places I've worked. Replacement of some of the breathing apparatus in the fire department. They need to replace all of that equipment over a period of time. Included in here is about $40,000. To replace a third of it's $45,000. It's actually less than a third. So that's why Larry looks kind of queasy over there. Does include the new ambulance and equipment. We fund an ambulance on an annual basis. We have 7 ambulances that we keep. We replace one every 7 years, and we've been able to keep that cycle going for a long time. We've talked about that a number of times as well. The ability to try to think and budget in multiple years so that we don't get behind on equipment, and I don't want to beat that to death, but the city has had in the past gotten behind on a lot of different types of equipment with the support of this council and other councils over the last 5 years. We've really turned that around, so we want to continue to do that with fire engines and with police cars and with ambulances and garbage trucks and so forth. The one area we haven't hit yet is equipment for the street department, and I'll talk about that a little bit because it's not funded again this year. Replacement of the EMS station, Northwest Station, operating out of the hospital right now. That's under design. Of course, we've got an architect working on that. A little behind schedule, but we knew that's a project that's going to be funded over this current year. What money is left over from this current year, we'll put into a capital fund and we'll roll it over into additional funding. Hopefully, we'll get that under construction sometime in the next few months. The architect was actually scheduled to make a presentation to you this evening, but he's not quite ready, so we'll do that in August. And we'll have Paul come visit with you on that. The city's swimming pool is getting quite old. It has a lot of repairs that need to be done. So this includes some money for the pumps and filter replacement there. Also some improvements and updates to the city's website. It's quite old, so we've got $20,000 budgeted for that purpose. The two areas that we seem to, at least in my opinion, and I think in a lot of other people's opinions, what we need the most help is drainage and code enforcement. We're proposing 2 new employees, not effective until April the 1st, and the reason for that is just to save some cost, to reduce the impact on the budget. And like Jerry's talking about, all those drainage projects that we've been working on for the last year and a half now, well over $1.5 million on drainage projects. The problem is that once upon a time, those drainage projects were in pretty good shape too, and then they didn't get maintained. They didn't get cleaned out. They didn't get worked on a regular basis because money got spent other places. Now, keep in mind that the drainage folks are the same people that are also taking care of your parks. Parks and Drainage is a single division here, which is kind of an odd combination, at least in my history, but that's the way it works here. And it works pretty well, other than once upon a time they had like 16 people, and now they have 8. They have more parks, they have more rights of way, and they have the same old drainage, some of which is left over from the CCC in the 1930s. So we're suggesting 1 whole employee. It is a full-time employee, but he or she wouldn't be in place until next April. Code enforcement. Frankly, we'd like to have another code enforcement person in the office so that the code enforcement officers can spend more time out in the field, and somebody to help with the abatement crew. And so if this position's funded between now and April, we'll decide which of those is the higher priority. But those are the only 2 new positions we're asking for in the budget. The next item is related to code enforcement as well, and that is to contract mowing for the money for contract mowing for Cox Field and the loop, the right-of-way on the loop. Those are huge projects that we have to mow. We either take parks crews away from mowing parks or doing drainage work, or we take code enforcement crews away from doing their jobs. And so the abatement crew that's supposed to be out mowing these vacant lots and cleaning up vacant lots, they spend many crew days a year mowing these large areas. And we think that we'd be better off to contract those out so they can actually do their real job, because their original job was not to mow the loop, which is state property. It's not to mow the airport, it was to do code enforcement. So we've got a lot of folks in code enforcement that aren't getting to do code enforcement, sometimes for days at a time, several days a month. They're not able to do their actual job. There is no rate increase. Doug Smith Harris talked about this a couple of council meetings ago. So no rate increase for water or sewer again for the 2nd year in a row. Increase of $615,000 for utilities debt service. Remember, we sold additional $9 million worth of utilities bonds last year, so there's an increase in debt service of over $600,000 that has to be accounted for in the utilities fund. Some good news, last year, some of you may recall, the Army Corps of Engineers increased our O&M cost by $83,000, and this year they said, we'll put it back the way it's supposed to be. So I don't know if that was a mistake or if they changed their mind or whatever, but we got that money back, which is good news. Of course, continued capital improvements at the at the water treatment plant, wells and pumps and so forth, also at the lift stations, and then finally, the $320,000 a year at the wastewater treatment plant. We don't have the ability to replace all of the wastewater treatment plant, or not the practical ability, I guess, without an enormous rate increase. And so our instruction from the council a year and a half ago or so was to pick those components of the wastewater treatment plant that are in most need. And of course, the headworks is that number one item. This will also have to be funded over a 3-year period of time. We did get those bids back a month or two ago that the council decided to pass on. We expect to, it's been advertised, so to speak, already. We expect to get those bids back probably in February. That date may change a little bit depending. We're trying to get the best date to get the most people interested, because the more bidders you get, hopefully, not always, but hopefully the more bidders you get, the better price you get. So that's the continued funding of that. Items that are not included in the budget, I've already alluded to some of those. Police chief has talked to you 2 or 3 years in a row about the exterior of the police and courts building. We've not put funding in there for that. We've not put funding in for replacement equipment at streets. And this is one of those, again, that we need to try to figure out how to get that in the cycle. Because a road maintainer, for example, that we need, ours is from the 1980s or 90s, is a $200,000 piece of equipment. So if you just stick one in 1 year and then you don't buy one and you stick one in, it causes a big fluctuation in your budget. So we need to get those on a regular cycle. So we've got some significant gaps there in the street department. All weather services at the warehouse, Gene talked about that. In some cases, it's a safety issue, especially with operation of equipment. The COLA for retirees, I understand that's very important if you're a retiree. The fact that for some of the retirees, those that were around once upon a time when it got taken away from you, it's probably pretty galling. For retirees since then, they didn't have that same impact on them, of course, but like a lot of these things, there's nothing on this list I wouldn't like to fund. I'm just not recommending it based on the fact that to fund that, the lowest cost option that's available for the retirees would cost the city about $196,000 based on the information that TMRS gave us recently. To do a permanent retirement change, which would affect not only the existing retired employees, but all future employees, which would be great because I hope to retire someday, would cost about, would be more like close to $2 million. So that's obviously not practical. But even the lowest cost one is $196,000 based on the numbers that TMRS gave us just a couple of weeks ago. Resurfacing the swimming pool, it's getting really bad. That's something we know we have to do, but we're going to let it slide another year, and hopefully next year we'll be able to fund that. Full replacement, and I already mentioned that with the gear. And I skipped one of those. We've had a number of people from different sources really trying to make improvements to the sports complex, not just because it'd be nice to have lights on that last field, and just because it'd be nice to have some more fencing and some more signage, but there are a couple of groups out there that are really trying to push that to get more tournaments in town. Going back to economic development, or Mr. Higdon was talking about, those special events bring a lot of people in town. You have a big softball tournament with 40 teams. They'll fill up all your restaurants. They'll fill up all your motels. And so that's why these groups are pushing that. And I'd love to do all of that too, but we just don't have the funds for that. So anyway, that's all I really have to present to you, just the highlights, and certainly I can address other details if you have things that you specifically want us to include or not include or whatever else. This will be back on your agenda again in 3 weeks, because this is a 5 Monday month. And then we have 2 public hearings that we'll be doing in September. And I think I didn't mention it. Just to refresh your memory, you have a meeting every week in September because of the budget. So you'll have 2 extra ones as well as your regular 2 meetings in September. So there'll be other opportunities to to plan to be here in September. You'll have other opportunities to provide input and so forth. But certainly, if you have questions or comments or instructions tonight, I'll be happy to take that.
The bar screen, was that in last year's budget? Is it budgeted this year?
It's in this budget, and then it'll be in the next 2 budgets as well.
Yeah, so we're paying a third. Okay, so a third of it, and then a third,
right?
And a third.
That's what we're hoping for.
Okay,
correct.
I don't know if this would be the place, but I would like, and I understand the money's not there, but I would like for it to be put on the agenda so that it can be discussed and each council member can decide whether or not to try to find something for our retirees. I think we at least owe them a discussion of it.
Okay. You mean outside of the budget? Because you can talk about it now.
Yeah,
Or
well,
at the next budget meeting?
well, maybe at the next budget meeting,
Okay.
because that way they would have a chance to
Okay.
look at it.
Okay.
Because we had a lot of people here tonight, and
Sure.
I believe we owe them at least that, to have a discussion.
Yeah,
on
and,
it.
and they, certainly every year since I've been here, it's important to them, and I understand that. And every year I feel guilty, and hopefully you understand that.
Yeah, and it's sort of like
but,
the
yeah,
school
I
employees
understand.
right now, they're saying, oh, well, let's give them a raise, but where's the money gonna come
Yeah,
from?
yeah,
So-
yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
it'd be nice to be rich, but we're just
Yeah.
not, so.
But that's, I would just like at least for them to have
Okay.
that opportunity.
Okay, we'll make sure we include that. Yes, ma'am.
I really appreciate the email that Gene sent out and you forwarded
Uh-huh.
about the COLA raises. I'd like a little more information about how the city retiree pension fund is set up. I found out today that we've got about 200 retirees. I'd like to kind of have a little, can you email that to us?
Sure.
A little bit of background
Yeah,
information.
I'll have
so-
Gene send you something. And just real quickly for public purposes, the city's a member of the Texas Municipal Retirement System, which is a statewide retirement system, very much like teacher retirement system, TRS, it's TMRS. We are what's called a 612 city, meaning that the employee contributes 6% of his or her pay, and the city matches that with 12%. Now, those numbers are not precise because it's really based on a lot of different factors, so it might be 5.9% and 11.2%, different things. But anyway, we're a 612 cities. Cities can be a 5.5, a 6.6, a 7.7, or they can double up. The best deal for employees is a 7.14 city. And most cities in the Metroplex are 7.14 because they have to be competitive. We're a 6.12 city. It's a good system.
So is this like a 401K?
No,
kind of
it's a retirement system that they manage. There's a board, Texas Municipal Retirement System Board. They manage all those funds. They invest those funds. They can tell you how much you have in your account at any point. They can give you an estimate on how much you should make when you retire at different ages. For example, we all do that are still in it. Police and fire in a separate system. So this is just the non-police
Right.
and fire because they're just fire. I'm sorry, just fire's different. Fire's different. You'll get a statement every year, and it tells you how much you've contributed, how many years you put in,
Okay.
how much money is
So
available.
can I
there.
look this up online, maybe under TML or something on their website? Something to get a little.
Yeah, and like I
little
said,
background
we'll
for
give
me
you
to-
more details so you can
Okay.
understand. But I just want to kind of hit some of the highlights again for the public
Okay.
purposes. So sure, absolutely. Well, I'll task Gene with that because wherever he went, there he is. He's more of an expert on that than I am. But we'll get you some information. send
Keep
to-
it
send to the
simple,
whole
Gene,
council.
please.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Ma'am.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Nothing else? Okay. All right, item number 19, future events for the city council and city staff. Any suggestions?
I have a couple of, a few weeks ago, I think it was when the fire chief gave his presentation, we had said that the council said that we'd like to have a work-in meeting with code enforcement. I don't want that to get forgotten.
Yeah, we have that tentatively scheduled for October.
Okay.
The reason it's so far is because, like I said, you got a meeting every single week in September already. So we have that scheduled for, I forget which date, but I've got that on a tentative calendar for October, and I'll get that to you so you can
Okay.
kind of
That
plan
was
around that or let me know it's not a good week for you.
Okay.
Ms. Knox, what do you have?
Well, there's a lot of things that people have been saying today about a vision and mission statement and, and I know that when I had my little mini orientation, I asked for, a plan. I'd like to start looking at that and working in some kind of a general area. I don't know how to proceed with that but I'd like to see us start going in that direction so that, because I know that there's some issues that I've got with regard to neighborhood redevelopment or revitalization and I just see that I see different areas of our city working really hard in their area and over here working really hard in their area and so forth, but I don't see a whole lot of integration going together. PEDC ought to care about our neighborhoods looking so horrible and the demolition of houses all the time. we need to be working together, you know, we need to give them something that they can sell to future, you know, companies, and, you know, so that they can give us jobs to put people in the houses, for example. So I just want to see something like that, and I don't know how to go about, to go about starting the discussion.
Well, there's two forums in which you could do that. You could do it as a council agenda item, especially if it's a light agenda, if we have a light agenda coming up where, you know, you're not here all night long, unless you want to be here all night long. Or a lot of times cities will have a separate work session, like we're talking about having one with code enforcement, where you just talk about those kinds of things. Early on, you want to talk about what your priorities are, what your visions are, those kinds of things. And a lot of times those are just kind of round table brainstorming, kind of get your thoughts organized amongst yourselves.
Well, maybe it could
kind of
be in
meeting,
a
so.
workshop scenario.
That's usually the better way to do it.
pull something out, sure, and then we can present it, you know,
Sure.
to the citizens in this forum, but I want to see something get started in that area, because, you know, we're just, everybody's working really, really hard in their area, but there's no integration in much, and I'd like to see some more of that.
I agree on that. I think we need, yeah.
Okay.
I think to build on what Ms. Knox has said is a retreat of some sort, perhaps, where maybe just half a day, because I know everybody's busy, but where we can come together and do some team building and some visioning for what we want to accomplish for our citizens.
Sounds good.
I like that
Okay.
idea.
We can look at some dates, and then we'll look at some kind of formats too, and I'll bring that back to you here at the next meeting or meeting after next, and we'll do that.
That'd be lovely.
Be
Thank
good
you.
to do it, you know, do it in October, November, October, the first half of November at the latest, I would think.
Nice color.
Anything else? Item number 20.
I make that motion.
Second.